Well, how about that? We tried something a little new today. Actually, my Aunt Khaki sent that out today, and I thought it'd be appropriate. Um, San Bernardino area, and I think one of my cousins, Penny, who watches the show sometimes, she's either the current mayor or a previous mayor of Highland, California. So that was a little history of Highland. There's a bunch of those. There was one about Kaiser Steel I was going to think about doing, but anyways, different way. It's a good way to let a few people bounce in before I pop on. Hey, Jennifer, good to see you. Welcome to the show. Welcome, Randy. I see you gave this a like. Yep. And oh, good. Oh, good. I'm glad you got saw that, Penny. That was kind of for. Will you clear that up, Robert? Correct. You were on that one, Robert. You got the correct call. Penny, would you clear that up? Are you still the mayor, or are you a previous mayor? I'm not real sure. Maybe you could fill us in, because we're proud of you. Yeah, if you like those, maybe we'll do another one about another. I think we're mostly California centric here for sure. So maybe we do some more parts of California. Okay, David, thank you. Oh, you know what? I haven't dropped the link. Let me do that. Because I've just about run out of anything to say. And David said a lot of people from Fontana moved to Highland. I think when we lived in Del Rosa, we were kind of close to Highland, if I remember right. Randy went to Highland Junior High School. I think my cousin Penny might have also. I went to a Serrano High School, which is now like a gaming casino up there. Or it's right across the street, if I'm correct. Old Newport Beach. I will look at. Okay, you requested Old Newport Beach. I will get my writing staff on that. Well, we got a guest already. Let's welcome my mom, Janice Murray. Look at you! You got your hair all done up nice.
I washed it. Yeah, I tried. It's pretty hard, pretty difficult. Well, I only have 45 minutes, and I thought, ask me anything you want about questions, family, and then I have to leave.
You're ready to go, aren't you?
Well, at 4:45, I have to start my dinner tonight.
Okay. Well,
So anyway, that
like-
was a nice presentation. I learned a lot. I did not know that. I always knew that San Bernardino was just directly east of Hollywood. I remember when we first moved to San Bernardino, Dad piled us all in the car, all of us girls, and he says, "I'm taking you to Hollywood." Well, we were just thrilled out of our minds, but it seems like we went out Highland Avenue, drove straight out Highland Avenue. They didn't even have the freeway then, and we ended up in downtown Hollywood. It was such a thrilling thing to do. We had our heads out the window and looking at everything, and yeah, and I can see where San Bernardino and downtown LA are just exactly opposite of each other. It's amazing.
It's pretty. I think it is a pretty close to a straight line. Good.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to try to do a show earlier, maybe this week when we get it arranged. So you'll be able to have a couple hours on here for sure.
Okay.
So what I was thinking, since you're up here, and we'll let someone in the peanut gallery ask you a question. Oh, well, here you go. Saved by the Bell. Saved by Sis.
Oh, Sis is here too.
Oh, hi.
Sis, what are you doing? No, that's not Sis. That's
Listen,
not Sis.
We just wanted to
It's
drop
Susie.
in and say hi.
Who is that?
We're kind of in a hurry. We're
Who
getting
is
ready.
that? Is that Sis?
Yeah, we're getting ready here. You may not recognize me because
I
we're kind
can't
of
tell
all
who it is.
spiffied up.
What
Okay.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Oh my
we got-
goodness.
Yeah, we're
She's
so
trying to
excited.
outshine me. What is she
We got
doing?
something special happening today. Today's going to be
Oh,
our day. Right, Dean?
Is she and Dean going to put on a show tonight and outdo me?
Hi there.
I'll go off.
Oh, goodness
Wouldn't you know it?
Gracious
The day that
me,
I try to come
we're
on,
so lucky
there they go.
today.
I can't hear them.
We're getting all gussied up just so we can go out. We have been sequestered in
I
this
can't hear
house
anything.
so long, and all we do is eat.
Okay.
Try to put our pants on.
Okay.
Yeah. I
Oh,
can't.
wait, Dean. No, wait.
I can't.
Well, is that the absent-minded professor?
Oh, but we're still happy because we get to go out, and it's going to be a wonderful trip.
I can't hear
We're
him.
going to hold
Now,
hands
listen.
and walk
All right.
across
I thought
the
that was
streets
Susie.
and get the mail.
Yes. we are.
Oh God, I'm so excited. Well, I don't know. I'm just beside myself.
We're on our way, but first of all, we have to do one thing.
What's
Dean.
that?
We're not going out with you looking like that. Look at your hair.
What's wrong
We're
with it?
not going out with you looking like that.
All
Sit
right.
down. I have
All
an
right.
idea. And this is for all of
I
you
can't
guys
hear.
out there that
It's
don't
okay.
know
You don't need to.
how to deal with a man's hair because he hasn't had a haircut in a while.
Yeah, Nellie, where are you?
So
I miss you.
yeah, we're just gonna fix it up right here. Now this is something Dean Dixon wouldn't normally do.
No,
We have a
no.
little man bun going up here.
Yes, it is. Yes. Oh,
Because he's not going out looking like
Good
Oh.
characters.
God, my God.
oh. This shirt, this
Turn
shirt
it
fit
on.
me 3 weeks ago. It did. I don't know. It's just, I think what it is, it's our washing machine. The water's too hot
Yeah.
and the dryer is set up too high and it shrinks my clothes. That's got to be the answer.
What do you think? Turn around, show me your little. I think
Can you
this
see
is-
my ponytail?
No, turn your head. this
Oh,
way.
where? Okay.
Not bad, huh?
Okay.
I think we can do this. I think we can do this.
Well, listen, we're gonna sign off and go down a trip across the street and get our mail.
We're gonna go.
Yeah.
Yeah, the mailman's coming, so
Yeah,
we
we gotta-
go.
Okay, I
It's
want you to have a nice
exciting
day.
day.
We're planning to have a beautiful day.
Mhm.
and it's so excited. So
And take advantage of getting ready. Get out of those pajamas. Get on something spiffy and nice and get ready to go. Are you ready, dear?
I'm ready.
All right. Take
Okay.
care. Bye-bye.
Hey, sis, I need you back on for help. Well, how about that? That was a nice little comic relief from Dean and Sis. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Yeah, yeah. See, they must be stir crazy. That's all I got to say.
They are. Oh,
Well, is
dear.
there any particular story you want to talk about, or would you like to have somebody answer questions?
Oh, I don't care. I don't care.
Well,
Who's
Go ahead.
who's listening? Who's on? Do I have a big audience?
it's probably going to drop pretty quick.
I know. When I get on, it does.
I see Donnie and Yvonne,
Pardon?
Donnie and Yvonne and Damien and
Oh.
Maggie and Kurt and Danny Wells.
Oh,
Since Yvonne is here, does she know ever how'd you meet your husband Dan?
she
No,
says
that's-
what?
Never mind. That's probably a bad story.
About what? How did I meet her husband Dan?
Yeah,
I
how
mean,
was
my
that?
husband Dan?
Yeah, quickly.
Oh, well, I went to Saudi Arabia and I was invited to a party the second day I was there. And I lived with two young British girls, one from Scotland and one from London, England. And they insisted I go along. And I said, no, 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 I'm 43. I'm not over here to meet anybody. I'm here to put my kid through school. No, 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 no. And it's all British. And I still couldn't understand any of them when they talked. And so anyway, they just kept insisting, you must go, you must go, you must go. I was there 48 hours. And so I went to the party, and there was this best looking man I ever saw in my life sitting there in the room. It was all Brits. Everybody was British. And all I could say is, what'd you say? What did you say? What did you say? And I think I was probably the only American there. But anyway, he asked me to dance, and that was it. Of course,
Wow.
it was 8 years of him going back and forth and traveling to other parts of the world. But then after 8 years, he came back to the States with me.
Well, good. And
I think he knows that.
I think, yeah, that's a pretty happy thing. Tell us you remember about Maggie. Tell us, when were we in Fontana when Maggie was born?
No, when well, yes, Maggie and Betsy. Yeah, I'm trying to think. Betsy Jacobino was born because right after we moved in, because I remember Ronnie being very pregnant with her when we moved in our house. And it seems like Betsy and Maggie were the same age. And they were the two most beautiful little girls you'd ever see in your whole life. And they could get in more damn trouble, cause more messes. But I loved them, and I can remember him sitting in the entry hall in Fontana. I had them over all the time, and they were kind of part of our family. But Betsy and Maggie, oh, what a couple! But they were the cutest little girls in the whole world. They were really good. They played together constantly, like two little girls do, like Freya and Aubrey. They were just together all the time. But they wrote on the wall a few times, and I don't know, destroyed a few things in the house, but they were precious. Yeah.
What about Jennifer? What do you remember? Did you ever spend much time with Jennifer when she was younger?
No, because she left home really, really early, but she was a beautiful, wonderful little girl, just great. And then when I really got to know Jennifer is after she moved to Newport Beach when she was older, and I know a couple of times I went down there and we had wonderful times together. Yeah, she was great. But actually, when we moved to Fontana, I think Jennifer was already in high school, maybe. I don't know. I can't remember.
Could have been. Well, let's see. David asked.
Jennifer was the knockout blonde. And I remember one night we were in Newport Beach, and she was speeding, she was driving, and the siren started in behind us, and she says, don't worry, just let it go. Don't worry. And I'm scared to death. And anyway, the cop pulls him over and she used her magic charm and blinked her eyes, and I'm sure whatever she did, and pretty soon we drove off and she's, I told you not to worry. I told you not to worry. And I thought, wow. I remember that. She doesn't.
So what year were you born in? Were you born in Ottawa, Illinois?
Yeah, I was born in Ottawa.
And were you born in a house or a hospital?
Danny and I were born in the same house. Khaki was born in a different house, and then I think maybe the three top ones, Jim, Donna, and Celeste, may have been born in hospitals. And then when the really, really bad depression set in, they moved to the country, and that's where Khaki was born. And then we were coming out of it when Danny and I were born. Then we went into a really nice home that Dad had built, and that's where Carol was born. And that house is still back there. The house I was born in, the house Carol was born in, they're well-built homes in Ottawa, South Ottawa.
So you were just born in a bedroom, huh? No hospital.
Oh, no.
What
I know I can tell you a story to all the names in our family. And Uncle Ed always lived with us because he was a bachelor, and that was kind of like Isabel was his mom. And I think when I was born, it was 35 below zero. And the doctor had to come out on a horse. He couldn't drive his car because it was too icy. And we probably lived about 20 miles from, or 10 miles from downtown Ottawa, where the doctor would have lived. And and I remember Dad had Dad paid for me by building an oak fence for Doctor around his house. I was paid for by Dad building a fence for him. And I remember Uncle Ed, my mother always wanted to name a little girl Janice, and she had James first, and then she kind of forgot about it. And then when I was born on New Year's Day, Uncle Ed said, let's name her Janice, because that's the name you've always wanted. And that's how I was named. Yep.
So how was Jim? Let's go ahead. If you said if you know the history of names, that's a good place to start.
I don't know about James. I don't know about Donna for sure. I know Celeste. Dad went to the library and he studied. He wanted the right name for her, and he named her Celeste Joyce for Heavenly Joy. And she was Joyce C. and Joyce most of our life. And then while we were all growing up. And then she wanted to go to she loves Celeste. So she kind of said, I want to start using Celeste. So she's been Celeste for the last 40 years. But she was Joyce to most of it for a long, long time. Mary Catherine, I don't know. She was probably named after Great Grandma Thumb. I think her name was Mary Catherine.
They probably wanted her to be a nun, I'm guessing.
Oh, Mom would have liked for all of us to be nuns, I'm sure, but that never happened.
No, I'm sure Grandma was happy that she got all her grandkids. I'm sure.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we wouldn't be here right now doing this.
Nope, that's for sure.
So, okay, you're Janice. She just wanted Janice. Then who was next? Danny?
Danny, I'm not sure how Danny was named.
I thought you said you had a story for all the names.
No, not Mint. I really didn't. Celeste and myself, and probably Khaki was named after Grandma Thumb. And I guess that's not true. I don't know about all of them. But the names are funny because when Khaki had her Danny, she almost died in childbirth, and she doesn't remember anything. And she said she was under anesthesia, and she was dreaming of my brother Daniel Joseph. So she named him Daniel Joseph. And when she came home, she didn't even remember that she had named him that. But she was dreaming of Danny and named him Daniel Joseph. So they're both Daniel Joseph.
Okay.
So I helped Khaki with a lot of her names too, a few of her names. But
who did you name Maggie real quick before Sis comes up?
Yeah, Maggie was named after my mother's mother, Mary Margaret. Mm-hmm.
And did you help?
Mary, I'm not sure which. And Mom's mom was also known as Maggie, but we never knew her because she died when Mom was a little girl. Diana was named, her middle name Grace, after Kenny's mother. Kenny's mother's name was Grace.
Why am I sideways?
I don't know, but fix it.
I don't know.
Oh, when Rosemarie was born, oh, that was a big one. When Rosemarie was born, we were all gathered around the table, and Mom was trying to figure out what to name the next baby. We never knew if it was going to be a boy or
Hey,
a girl.
Mom, can I interrupt you real quick? Can you
Yeah.
center yourself on the screen and then maybe stop rocking around so much?
Oh, okay.
There you go. Much better. Perfect.
Could somebody tell me how to get my
Yeah.
thing straight?
Yeah, take the phone and rotate it. That's it.
Anyway, when Sis was born, all of us girls were around the table, and Mom wanted to name her Martha.
Oh,
And
that's weird.
Celeste started crying. She said, if you name a baby Martha, I will leave home. That is absolutely horrible. So it just went round and round. But Mom had a favorite aunt called Rosemarie. And Mom loved Marie and Mary. So that's how Sis was named Rosemarie. But Mom really wanted to name her Martha.
No, that's not what I heard.
Well, what'd you hear? You're upside down.
Dad told me, oh, we're back from the mailbox, and it was a bust. The mailman didn't even stop and talk to us. Anyway, Dad told me I was named after Saint Rosalima. Is that true?
Well, that could be. That could be. Yeah, you had to have a saint's name to be baptized.
Yeah.
My name is very Jewish, so Mom pinned Anne on it, A-N-N-E, after the Blessed Mother's mother.
Yeah.
We all had to have a Catholic saint's name.
Yeah.
That could be.
So did I interrupt your storytelling?
No, but you're upside down. It's driving me crazy.
I don't know how to fix it.
You're sideways. There. No, now you're sideways. More.
I'm going to go out and come in again. Maybe it'll fix it.
Okay. Any questions? Oh. I have 15 minutes. Hello.
Can you hear me now?
Yep. What happened?
Oh, I don't know. I took myself off. So who was Popeye's wife? Was that Grandma Thumb?
Was what?
Popeye's wife?
No. Popeye was Mom's dad, and remember his wife Maggie died when Mom was a little girl. So Popeye remained single the rest of his life, and he's the one that lived on the island. That was all Mom's side of the family. His name was Fred Houck, and John. And when Betty and Ed had John, they named him John Frederick after Popeye. Oh, there's my phone. Well, I think I'll go.
Okay, well, good. Thank you for coming on. I'm sure there'll be more questions for you.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.
Everybody.
Thank you. Well, we got Kurt Shaw up here.
I had a question for your mom. She just got off.
Oh, darn it. She
You want to
did.
know what the question was?
What was the question?
How did she meet that bastard Smitty?
Oh, I'm not real interested in that subject, to be honest
I
with you.
know. But I thought I could talk to your mom about it. I remember Smitty.
Yeah.
He was all right. He was okay to me, but I didn't have to live with him, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. Anybody else want to come up here?
Yeah, I'm getting kind of boring already.
Yep. Yeah, that was nice. I thought Sis and my mom would talk a little longer.
That was a great skit. Dean should have been an actor. He cracks me up. That ponytail, tears were coming down my eyes. I was laughing so hard.
Yeah, I think they're bored. I think they probably put a little bit of thought into that one.
Yeah, and that's good. That's good.
Oh, I loved it.
It takes a little talent too. You know, I know Damien can be funny like that. You know, kind of naturally funny. That's the only people I know that can be that way.
What's that?
No, nothing. Nothing. What are you eating?
Otter Pop. I'm hooked.
Ah, cheap too. They're like 15 cents a piece, huh?
I have never done the math, but I don't care.
If
I
you
don't care
if
they're
you
right
buy them
now.
if you buy 50 pounds of them at Costco, they're like a nickel a piece.
Well, Damien was talking about some Mexican ones. I hope that's correct. I hope that's not appropriate. Big fat red ones. I'll have to try. Because
I
I have
know that
more of these things.
I know the Coke in Mexico, Coca-Cola, tastes different because I guess they use real sugar down there. So I always enjoy the Coca-Cola down in Mexico. Has a better flavor, I think.
Yeah, I've never noticed that.
Is that right?
So what's going on with fishing down there? Oh, here we go. We got
Nothing.
Sis again.
Oh, good.
Nothing going on with fishing. Just all stopped.
Well, so ocean fishing, I haven't heard anything, but I think Friday they're gonna open up some of the parks and trails, and I'm not sure if that includes the lakes and the launch ramps or not. I'm not sure.
Okay. Well, Sis popped in and out. Sis, you were in the proper orientation, by the way. If you can hear this.
So I was at a fish restaurant today looking at doing some work, and they were still open, and it's a fish market and restaurant. It's called the Fishery in Pacific Beach, and I was looking at their fish case, and I saw fish for $32 a pound. It was California halibut.
Really?
Had no idea halibut was $32 a pound. That's like up there with lobster and crab.
Oh, probably. Yeah.
Yeah, it definitely is. Definitely is.
And then you catch that quite a bit when you go out in those boats, don't you?
No, it's a lucky you catch one. I probably caught 3 in the last 5 years. They're just really the sports boats. They don't target halibut. There's just not enough to go around. Like calico bass and bonita or something like that, or even bottom fish. There's just not a whole lot of halibut to go around, especially on an open party boat.
And if I remember right, when you catch a halibut, you're probably in line for the pot because they're pretty heavy, aren't they?
Yeah, you pretty much, unless somebody catches a big yellowtail, can beat it, But yeah, no, I got the jackpot that day for sure. Yeah, it was funny because Linda got the jackpot. We went fishing 2 days earlier, and Linda caught a nice big lingcod, and she got the jackpot 2 days earlier. So had a little run going there.
Yeah, I think I've gone maybe 3 or 4 times, and the seasick part is not worth it.
Yeah,
because you've probably paid yourself $60-$70 a pound for bass out there, haven't you?
Oh, we don't count that. We don't count that. Can't count that.
Some kind of. Do you ever go? I've got a question for you from Robert. Do you ever go out to the Coronado Islands?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Coronado Islands I fished it hundreds of times. And it's one of those islands that it's either on or it's off, and it can be really good or it could be really crappy. But what's nice about the Coronado Islands, it's on a ridge. The Coronado Islands is on they call it the 9 Mile Bank. So it's part of a bank. And that 9 Mile Bank, goes probably the high spot on the 9 Mile Bank is probably 250, 30, 40 fathoms, and then which would be 250 feet. That'd be the highest spot. So it's great rock fishing out there. If there's not yellowtail biting, you can go fish rockfish. You get big red vermilions and lingcods and bacacho and whitefish, and there's hundreds of different kinds of rockfish you can catch, and they're all good eating. They're all, or 90% of them are good eating. It's all that nice white fish.
Yeah.
So yeah,
good ocean fish is good. It was a beautiful day here. I got to work in my backyard, planting some seeds. It was actually just nice to go out and do a little work in the sunshine.
Yeah.
Yeah, Maggie Wells does like goldfish. She likes to fillet them.
Fillet goldfish?
Yeah, I remember that story that Cac said how after a fishing trip she wanted to to clean the fish with the boys, and they didn't let her. So the next morning, or day, or paraphrasing a bit, she got the goldfish out of the fish tank and filleted them.
That sounds like Maggie. I've been fishing with Maggie offshore before. She's a hardy soul, man. Tell you what, that girl hung in there. It was a rough day, and I was real close to losing it, and I know she was too. But what happened there? But she didn't, and neither did I, and all turned out well. We caught fish, and it was a good day.
You ever catch any of them fish with like human teeth, a sheep's head? I think, don't they have
Yeah. Sheep have like shell cracker teeth. You know, they have like buck teeth, and they're I guess they're kind of human looking. A lot of people desire sheep head. I'm not. A lot of people call it a poor man crab, but I'm not a big sheep's head fan. They're kind of a trippy fish. Like they're all born. I think they're all born females. And they're all born just kind of this orange color, and as they get bigger, the males turn into this black or red, black, white kind of a neat looking fish. The ones that I feel most sorry for, they call them barber poles, and they're orange and white. You know, they're orange with white stripes around them. They're really good eating. And they generally don't get over a pound or two, and a lot of times you catch them, you know, they're that big. And generally speaking, those bottom fish, when you bring them up, they're dead. You might as well cut a fish that big and get a couple pieces of fish out of it rather than trying to say, oh, it's too small, because it's either gonna float on top of the water, and a sea or a pelican's gonna come by and eat it. Usually is what happens. So everything eats.
It doesn't go to waste.
Nope. I wish Dennis would come on. We could talk about our little trip we did. Was it last summer?
You have another cousin coming on here too, real quick, closely related to Dennis. So let's bring her on. I'm hoping she'll keep the camera still.
Oh,
Hey,
Trina.
Trina.
I'll let Trina be
Well,
on. I'll come back.
Just,
What's
Hi.
going on today?
I just wanted to show you my little 2 blocks from my house, my little Parrot Park. How sad it's closed. Can you see it?
No. Turn the camera, maybe. You're buffering
This
a
way?
lot. You're
Oh, well, I'm sorry.
okay. Yeah. That's a lake. I gotcha.
Yes, I'm right 1 block from my house.
Okay. Nice.
That's the lake. It's all closed. Sad.
There's no boats on the lake.
It's sad. It's closed down. I took a look. A couple. Yeah, there's a few. There's boats. I just thought I'd get out of the house for a minute. I'm starting to go nuts.
How's Christian doing today?
Okay. Christian's okay. We're gonna go to the grocery store in a minute. He's okay. He's all right.
Good.
We're actually proud of him. He's handling it pretty well.
Is he working? Well, I heard he's working for your neighbor. Is that true?
Well, he does hard work for the neighbor. Yes, he does, but I wouldn't call it working. I think I'm going to try and get him on at Walmart. I'm going back to Walmart Friday.
Okay. You want
Get
to
him
feel
back on
safe?
at Walmart.
You want to feel safe?
What's that?
You going to feel safe there?
No, I don't feel safe.
Well,
No, I'm not going to feel safe. There's a lot of people going to Walmart, but I got to work. I need money. So, okay. All right. I was just checking in, guys.
hey, well, good to see you. Good
Okay.
to see you. I'm glad you checked in. We'll learn how to deal with
Okay.
that.
Okay.
We're working on it.
Yeah.
We'll
Help me. I need him. I think I need my iPad from Susie.
No, you
Okay.
just-
I'm on a little phone. All right.
It doesn't matter what kind of size. If the picture's fine, is you got to make. You just don't move. You take it out of your hands and put it somewhere. That's what you
Okay. I'll try.
do. See,
Do that.
hands
Okay,
free.
guys.
All righty. Bye
I
bye.
can't. Okay, bye. Bye.
Take care.
Okay, you too. Bye.
Well, we got some cousins popping in. We had my mom and Sis and Trina and Kurt. Good to see you. Thank you for coming in. They're kind of almost regulars now. I'm going to drop the link because I don't have much to say myself. Although it was a beautiful day up here. Had a great time. Oh, I was going to do maybe a giveaway today. well, we got almost a record. I think I know what these are. I got some new stickers, and I usually give stickers away with my packages, so I haven't really seen them yet. But yeah, I got some new style stickers. So if you type in something in the thing and you want a sticker, just say you want a sticker, and I'll send you one of my new designs that I did on my new software that I'm using. For any who go out there and mess around with photographs, like with Photoshop stuff, there's a really good program called GIMP. Great program for graphic arts. So I've been doing all my labels and stickers. So if you want a sticker, a new style sticker, let me know. Kurt wants to come back on. Kurt.
So I thought Trina, what she said was pretty profound, is that she has to go back to work. She needs money. And I think there's a lot more people that are in her position than are in your position or my position. Where, well, I'm working, so I'm not in that position at all. But I think there's a lot of people that, hey, they don't have any money. They're out of money. It's been, what, 4 weeks now? You know, most people don't have a savings account. Most people, even my employee John, who made $60,000 last year. All right, that's not a whole lot of money, but that ain't too bad. He has to work every week. He lives paycheck to paycheck, and I guess it's a risk reward type thing, right?
It is. And I don't like to make a lot of calls on it myself because I'm in a real different position. I'm in a real different location. Although there were protests today in our town, but
Really,
yeah, there was. Sis, what's going on, young lady?
Hey, how are you?
Thank you for that little comedy relief there.
Yeah.
I appreciate it because I think you put a little thought into that, and it was
We
noted.
got a little excited about going out to get the mail. And
hey sis.
Hi,
Sis?
Kurt.
Hey, how are you? Hey, I love Dean, man. I feel like I'm closer to him now. He's got a great sense of humor. I haven't really talked to Dean that much, but I had no idea he had that type of sense of humor, and I love somebody with a sense of humor like that. You know, how do you not like him?
Yeah, I have to prod it out of him sometimes.
He's great. You should have done. I was rolling on the floor when he turned around and had that ponytail on. Funnier than hell.
That's for real. One of these days I'll have to do a video on how to cut his hair, even though I don't know how, but I'll have to figure it out. So when I do that, I'll come on and show you how to do it.
Yeah, I'm about ready to let Linda try to cut my hair. It's just, or at least shave my neck. I get as much hair growing on my neck as I do on my head, but it's starting to drive me a little crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, you know, Dean and I are the expendable ones. You know, you open up the economy, you know, we're the old ones that are expendable. Are we willing to do it for the economy? I don't know. I've lost sleep thinking about that. I'm not sure. That's a tough decision to make, you know. Open up the economy and maybe die because you go out to the grocery store. I don't know.
Yeah, I would be surprised that when the economy doesn't open, we see another bend in the curve, bending upwards. I'm not sure if it'll skyrocket up, but I'm predicting that we're going to see a slight bend.
Oh, it will. New York's already seen it. Or was it? Who was it that opened up? Not New York.
Well, some states never closed
Louisiana?
down.
Maybe it was Louisiana or Georgia. I can't remember.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a tough call. I don't know what to say about that.
You're right. It is a tough call. It is. I guess some of it, I think a lot of it should be left up to your own personal feelings on it. But when those personal feelings can really affect the rest of society, that's when it gets a little tricky.
Yeah, exactly. So it you know, and it feels like at some point, you know, to open up the economy, it's like all the young ones are going to have to go out and support the economy, and the old people are going to have to stay home and just shelter in place for a very, very long time and live out your life that way. And that's the way maybe it's going to have to be. But I
Well,
don't-
you know, a wise man once told me that when he's faced with decisions like this, whether you should go one way or the other, you need to err on the side of liberty. Right, Pat?
I wonder who said that. That one guy was a wise. I think
I like that, though. I really like that thing.
And my question to that, Kurt, is liberty for who? It wouldn't be for me.
Yeah.
There's no liberty in death. I don't think, well, maybe there is, you know,
Yeah.
existential liberty, but
one thing, sis, I think when they get a vaccine that works or we get antibody tests,
that'd be great.
I think then we'll be able for sure to say, okay, let's open it up. Doing
Yeah.
it before then is a little bit, yeah,
It's risky. Yeah.
it's risky. Your daughter wants to come on, so welcome to the show. How you doing? How you doing, Ginger?
Hi.
Hey,
Hi,
Don.
Don.
What you got to say, Donnie? Can you hear me? Are you muted?
She must be muted. She's not replying.
Well, she's not talking either.
Can't hear you. We can't hear you.
Oh,
She said, I'm
that's not
talking.
fair.
Oh,
She said, I'm not talking.
I got you.
Say something.
I think she's muted. What's going on with her now? Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
You better go out and turn your mic on. Make
Yeah,
sure
try leaving and coming back, young lady. Yeah, actually today, you know what? Yeah, what doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me is today our town was humming with people. I had to go to Home Depot. Actually, didn't really have to, but it was very busy. The parking lot was fuller than I've ever seen it. They allow a minimum in a Walmart, but you know, why couldn't an insurance company possibly be open? Or I don't know. You know, it's kind of weird how it's set up, but they're
Right.
not.
Or even a retail store or somebody that, you know, sold, I don't know, jewelry or whatever. You know, you go. I drove down Ingram Pacific Beach, the main street in Pacific Beach, just bar and restaurant after bar and restaurant, shops and everything. You know, all these different shops, and they're all closed down. Everything's closed down, but you know, it's some of it just doesn't make any sense.
No, but I think once we get the vaccine that works, I hope, and we get antibodies, then you know what? Then I don't. Yeah, I think most people will be able to make that choice. I think you should be able to make the choice if you don't want the vaccine, which it looks like a lot of people aren't really. You know, I see a lot of conspiracy theories around that, which that's kind of okay. You know, I'm probably going to take it once scientifically it seems to work. Maybe I have it. I doubt it. I've never really felt being sick, but that will be real interesting too. You know, we might be safe already. We just don't know.
That's an interesting question. Who's going to get it? Because there's a lot of anti-vaxxers for sure. I'm not an anti-vaxxer. I mean, I've had polio shots and you know the other shots you get when you're a kid. I didn't have any say-so in that. I'm not necessarily an anti-vaxxer, but I've never got a flu shot and I've never had the flu. So I'm like, why would I get it if I've never got it? You know?
You've never had the flu ever? That's kind of impressive.
Okay, let's put it this way. I've had days when I felt bad. I don't know if it was a flu. I can't remember the last time I missed work because I didn't feel good enough to go to work. You know, I've had days, you know, you have head colds and stuff like that, but I've never been bedridden for a day or two by the flu.
I've been curled up on the bathroom floor for 2 or 3 days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Patrick and I worked in the public school system.
Yeah.
We were exposed to everything.
Yeah.
Donnie, can you hear us now? Can you talk?
Nope.
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 Can't hear you.
You got 3 no's.
You can keep going. I think someone had a comment about, let's see if I scroll on up here.
Can't hear you, Don.
Can't hear you. Sorry.
Have to sign to
Damn it. Damn it.
Yeah.
Is it okay to say damn it?
Yeah.
No.
Well,
Are there 7 words that we can't say? Is that the 7 naughty words?
were you on here
Or
yet,
is-
by any chance?
I wasn't on early.
I wonder why Sahara would not want to be the vaccine. She said she wouldn't take the vaccine, and I'm curious. That's an interesting point. But I'm curious, Sahara, why you would you take the vaccine for this, Kurt? That's a question I have for you.
I've never been afraid of getting this virus. I don't want to get it, but it doesn't scare the hell out of me. I really think, I'm not 65 yet, so it's for people 65 and older, so I'm good there. I don't smoke. I'm overweight, but I'm pretty healthy. I'm not short of breath. We take the dog for the walk, a couple times a week, couple miles, and
So would that be a no? You wouldn't take the vaccine?
Well,
I-
it's not.
I'm not ready to answer that yet. I'm really
It's
not.
not just about how it's going to affect you, Kurt. You got to think about how is it going to affect your mom. You
Yeah.
know, at what point,
Yeah.
it could also affect her in a very negative way.
Well,
If you, if you got
I have
sick,
I have trepidations about a brand new vaccine that really, they're rushing this thing. They're rushing it.
Right.
And it still takes a year, even rushing it. It can't possibly be tested in every which way.
no,
It just can't. We just don't have the time.
yeah.
Um,
I worry about the pregnant women that'll go out and get it out of fear of catching it because they're pregnant, and then what it might do to their babies, something
yeah,
like
there's
that.
a lot of talk about vaccine and autism, and I haven't really looked into that much. But
Yeah.
Sis, you're going to get
Yeah.
it for sure, aren't you?
What?
You're going to get the vaccine for sure.
No, I'm not sure. I was
You're not
never
sure.
one for the flu vaccine because every time I got the flu shot, I got sick. But this I probably would just because, but you can't be sure of the strain that you're getting either because there's a couple different strains out there of this virus. And like when
Right.
you get a flu shot, your flu shot is only good for 1 or 2 strains. It doesn't cover all the flu strains.
Yeah.
So,
right.
like, I really think Dean and I had this virus back in February, but I think we had a milder form of it. But they also say, there's kind of a form of the virus where you get a runny nose and a fever. And then there's the pretty serious one where it affects your lungs,
Right.
And I probably would just because, we're at risk, especially Dean, if we did get that strain of it,
Yeah.
it's I don't know. It's like you got to ask yourself, will you miss the old people? Will you guys miss me? Will you miss your mom? Will you miss all us old people?
Yeah.
That's why you're getting all of our stories now and having everybody tell their story, huh? Right? Get ready for the economy to open back up.
Who are you talking to?
Both of you.
All
When
of
you-
us.
Wait,
All of
do
us here.
you think I want the economy opened up? Is that the impression you get from me?
No,
No,
I was joking.
I'm like I said, I'll probably, I wouldn't mind even being, I'm not afraid. I'll get the vaccine.
Hey, Pat,
Yes.
if they open restaurants tomorrow, and I know you say you don't go to a lot of restaurants, but, or sis, if they open in tomorrow, would you go to a restaurant?
No.
You know what? I usually don't. So,
No.
Yeah, I know you usually don't, but sis,
No, I
sis,
don't think
you
I
and-
would. I don't think I would.
Dean and I used to go out to eat a lot, but
Yeah.
if one open
Don't
tomorrow.
you miss it?
would-
I really miss going out to eat. I really do.
Yeah, me too. I'm cooking. I miss it a lot. I'm the one cooking every day.
Yeah, it's hard to think of something to come up with every day,
Yeah, I kind of can relate to remembering when I was little. I remember Grandma complaining a lot about having to cook, and I remember what the heck. I won't cuss, but she would cuss a little bit. and say, what the heck am I going to fix tonight for dinner? What am I going to fix tonight? What's it going to be? And she'd always throw something together, but I remember her stressing about it all of the time, worried about it.
Well, when you're having what, 10, how many people did she feed every day? 10, 12,
Yeah, she
15?
just
Well,
pour more milk in that gravy. Yeah.
Most cooks would tell you it's easier to cook for 10 than it is for 2. You know? There's nothing
Sometimes,
to that.
yeah. I usually still cook for at least 6 or 8, and there's only Dina and I. We always have leftovers because I don't know how to cook for 2.
Yeah.
And you know what, cooking for one is not, it's not, you don't really do it. You don't make
Not really.
meals. You just eat
Right.
something. You know,
Macaroni and cheese.
you might make a hamburger or or steak or rice but yeah, you don't make a 4-course meal ever. That's not going to happen.
Do you
Unless
feel like you eat pretty healthy, Patrick?
no, I can eat a lot better for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
I eat way too many sweets. I literally made chocolate chip cookies. And I ate
No,
like
as I'm drinking one of I'm squirt. No, I don't. I should eat less meat. I really should. And eat more vegetables and rice and grains. I know I should. I'm still, I don't know. Yeah, I should. That's all I'll
Hey,
say.
sis,
Yeah.
do you bake a lot? You make cookies and brownies and cakes and pies and stuff like that?
What? Say that.
Do you
Kurt.
do you bake a lot? Do you
I
make
bake.
cookies?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. I've been baking almost every day, but I try to give it away because,
Oh, really?
well, you can see from Dean's pants, we need to not eat the baking anymore. I don't like to cook, but I do love to bake. Jennifer likes to cook. She loves to
Yeah.
cook, but I'm a baker. I love to bake. I bake pies and cookies and cakes. Yesterday, I made a batch of snickerdoodles and chocolate chip cookies, and I'm trying to tell Aubrey if she does her homework, I bring her chocolate chip cookies. So get her to do her work. And
Yeah, I can see.
take cupcakes to kids. And I gave Dennis a pumpkin pie that about killed him because he didn't know he had to refrigerate it. And he ate it 3 days after it was on the counter. And I was like, oh my gosh.
So, did that article about the different kinds of flour, was that new?
Yes,
I didn't know any-
because I've never had formal training in cooking, and there are things that I often wonder about. I used to go to, when I worked at the junior high school, I used to go to the home ec teacher all the time and ask her, what would happen if you did this and this, and why do you do this and this, and why do you use soda versus baking soda, and that kind of thing. So yeah, that was interesting. Oh, thanks, Dennis. But yeah, how would you know you got sick on the damn pie? Must have tasted good anyway, huh?
It was good going down.
If you don't see the link for a while, just let me know, and I try to read the chat now and again, and I'll drop the link for Donnie this time. Good to see if we got your audio taken care of. So yes, so are you going to go out and buy any different kinds of flour, sis?
No, Nick Lopes brought me a 25-pound bag of flour from Costco. He got for $5.
What kind?
And I've been hesitant to use it. Number one, because once I open it, I don't have anywhere to store it. And number two, I'm hesitant to use, I've always used just all-purpose flour. I've used almond flour and different things for different tastes, but I don't know. If anybody needs flour in Chico, I have 25 pounds. And I know it's kind of.
Where were you born, sis?
Where was I born?
I don't know a whole lot about your younger life. I hear a lot about the older ladies. I don't know a lot about yours.
Yeah. When everybody talks about grandma's kids telling their stories, it's always the older ones.
That's
John,
true.
can we hear you? Can we hear you? Say something. Hello, Don.
Hello, little Donnie.
Talk.
Okay. Well, tell us where were you born? Where were you born, sis? San Bernardino?
Well, I was born in San Bernardino.
You were probably the first one.
No, I think Joe was.
Joe was born in San Bernardino too.
Joe was born in San Bernardino, and then I was actually. Don was born in San Bernardino too.
So was
Yeah.
I. I was too.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
I know what's happening.
What's
You got
happening?
it, Don? You got it.
Americans just figured
Hold
out-
on, I got to get my cord
Okay,
and
so
my
I was
battery's
hearing
running
the
low.
audio from Facebook, but the tab was open on StreamYard, and so I was 20 seconds behind getting the overlap. No, nothing.
No, now,
We hear
yeah.
you, Don.
She's on. She's
I hear.
she's doing two things at once, which is really because
Yep.
there's about a 20-second delay between this and when I see something, it's 20 seconds before Facebook sees it.
Right. So can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So I just kind of had to plug in some headphones, and it seems like if I just add it through headphones, it works.
Okay, good. So what's going on?
Sis,
What?
you're upside down, dude.
Oh, well, I had to plug in my iPad and the cord is on the bottom.
Okay.
So we'll see if I can fix it.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
you can't see the chat on the Facebook. Well, I guess I could mute the Facebook. And then
That's all you got to do is mute the
Yeah.
Facebook. You can mute the Facebook.
But I want like a killer background like you have.
Just get a green cloth and we'll put whatever you want up there. I can do that. All
A
you need
green
is,
cloth.
yep. Watch. You ready? Hold on here. Hold on. I'll show you. Okay. Get a green sheet about that color, even blue about that hue, and you can put any picture you want behind you. See, just green. Just a
Can I just be on upside?
nope. Sorry.
It's the only way I can plug
Well,
my
it's not.
iPad
It's
in.
not working for us. Thank you. Let me get me something a little more sexy here. Let me get something.
Okay.
Okay, how about that? A little waterfall action. See, I can just travel. There you go, sis. That looks great now.
Yeah.
Donnie, what questions do you have about your mom? Do you know where she was born?
I do. She was born in San Bernardino, California, just like I was.
What year?
1950.
Can you turn your sound up, Dawn?
Let me see.
I think you can.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
It's really low.
Is that
It's
better?
really low.
Is that better?
A little better.
Come on. Well, I got a new laptop, and I'm wondering if I sacrificed in microphone quality when I got it. It was only $400.
I don't know, but yeah, if we're quiet, we can hear you. If I
right.
stop singing, we could probably hear you.
Stop singing. No, please enjoy yourselves. I have nothing to say.
Where was your mom? What hospital was your mom born in?
St. Bernardine.
Uh,
No,
No.
wrong. That's where
no,
I was
you were born at St. Bernardine's. I was
Oh.
born at Laurel Hospital.
Laurel.
Not too many people know about it. I don't even know if it still exists, but supposedly I was born there.
Okay.
So, were you and Uncle Joe close? Like, how far apart were you? A couple of years, a year or two, or what?
Gotta get out.
I think Joe he'll correct me because I can never remember, but I think he's a year and 6 months, something like that.
And then it was Uncle Danny, then Joe. There was a pretty good gap there, wasn't there?
No, it was
Carol.
Uncle Danny, Carol, then 10 years later, Joe, and then a year and a half later, me, and then about 4 or 5 years later, Terry.
Oh, okay, that was good. Yeah, so you had a different relationship then to all the were they all out of the house when you were born?
Oh, yeah. 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 They were all gone. They all had their own kids. I mean, Poop and Jennifer were my siblings. That's who I grew up with, was Poop and Jennifer and Matt and Mark, and they were all my siblings. So for me, it's like I called my mom Grandma, and I called my brother Uncle Dan. It's like they were my aunts and uncles more than a brother and a sister. Felt more like an aunt and an uncle, I guess. I don't know quite how that all is, but Yeah.
Did you were the Dietzes living in San Bernardino at that time, close to you guys?
They were, well, I remember them living on 21st Street in San Bernardino. Let's see, who would have been born at that time on 21st Street? Di, maybe? And then they moved to Fontana. So I hung out a lot with Jennifer. You know, like Kat said yesterday, she traded kids with my mom a lot. So it was usually she took, you know, Kenny, and Jennifer stayed at our house, or Susie, it was Susie and Terry, and it was that way till we got to be in our teens. So.
Were you born in the Washington House on Muscoy?
Uh-huh.
Oh, okay. They lived there a long time then.
Yeah, well, I was born there, and I don't know how long they lived there before I was born. I think they moved there in 49, and I was born in 50. And then they moved out when I was 12. We moved to Beaumont. Dawn, come back. I'll quit talking about this boring stuff.
I don't know. I don't know where she went. I'll drop the link again if anyone else wants to come up. Yeah, I was born in that house too, you know. You remember that? What do you remember about that?
No, I thought you were born up in Cherry Valley.
No, I was born on Washington Street.
Oh, no, I don't remember that when you were born. I remember being a baby, but I didn't remember that. I remember you in Cherry Valley.
Interesting. I think Terry remembered. We came home from 6th grade and she said, "Ooh, what's that?"
Yeah.
Like,
I was a pretty, you know, I was already doing my teenage thing, my teenage years by the time you came along, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That must have been
I don't want to tell my life story though, so I'm going to go.
What?
Something else you want to talk about?
No. Why are you so? Why I'm kind of curious why you seemed hesitant to talk about your younger days. How come?
I don't know.
Interesting, because honestly, yeah, I hear a lot about the older ladies, but honestly, I don't know a whole lot about Joe and you when you were little. Hardly anything. So you'll have to fill us in a little bit in the puzzle.
No, we'll wait for Joe to get a camera and he can do it. He'll have telling it.
You can help it too. You can help. You have your own story. You got to share it. You got to help share it. You don't have to, no, but we'd love you to. I
don't have a story. Even my birth story is about somebody else.
Really?
I wrote a story about me and I said, I don't really have a story. I was the 9th of 10 kids. I was kind of lost in there. So even in the birth story, it was about Joe. Because the day that I was born, Joe got hit by a car, got ran over by our neighbor. And so whenever you hear about Sis being born, it's about Joe.
Interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, I did. I've done my years of therapy. You know, I'm okay.
Okay, good. Well, I just think I would like to, hear a little bit about, because you know what, you've had an interesting journey, and I think you're a great role model for young women. You were born with a silver spoon in your mouth, like you said, 9 of 10 kids. You've had your ups and downs and rough times in your life, and look behind you now.
Yeah.
You worked hard, went to school later in life. How old were you when you went back to school to teach or go to counseling?
I think I went back to school when I started Butte College when I was 24, 25, after I came back up to Chico.
Mm-hmm. See,
and did Butte College and pretty much was a single mom through all of that here in Chico, and it was hard. It was hard going to school and being a single mom. It was definitely hard.
Now, when you started going to Butte, was it just to kind of better yourself, or did you have an idea? Did you have a goal set at that point?
Well, I had a goal set. Originally, I said I wanted to be a teacher.
Uh-huh.
But I think I really said that because education wasn't talked a lot about in our family. And I really had no clue what was out there. I really had no clue as to what was available to me. I thought if I could become a teacher, I'd be doing great. That would be like great things, Yeah. So I started out wanting to become a teacher, but then in taking psych classes along the way and of course, there was a lot of therapy to be done in those psych classes, you know, coming from my family. So it became more interesting to me to find out about my own psyche and what was going on with me than to become a teacher. So along the way, I started doing that, and then I started taking art classes. And at one point, I was a double major and almost had an art major. I think I was like 10 credits away from it, and which is what I really wanted to do, but since I was a single parent, how are you gonna do that and be an artist and raise a kid? So that wasn't reality. So I went back and finished my psych degree in counseling.
You were in private practice for a while, right?
Did private practice for a while, learned a lot from the people that I worked with. Went back again and got my school psychologist credential. After I met Dean, he kept saying, you need some security, you know, you got to go to work for the school system and get some security, you know. So he finally talked me into going back into the school system. So I did that, and I was a school psych for about, I don't know, 10 years. If some of you don't know the difference between a school psych and a school counselor, a school psych is the person that does all the testing for learning disabilities. And the school counselor is like what Susie does, and sees a lot of kids and does a lot of talking and helps people out. And school psychs make more money. For some reason, a school psych is on an administrative pay, and school counselors are on teachers' pay. You know, administrators make a lot more money, and I made a lot more money as a school psych. But you know what you have to do? You have to give that damn Stanford Binet IQ test. In order to test a kid for a learning disability, you have to give them an IQ test, right? And then you look at the IQ test and you say, okay, if their IQ is average, right, say 100, but their reading and math score is 65 or 70, you have a specific weakness, then you have what's called a learning disability. But you have to give that IQ test every day. And if you know about IQ tests, it's a standardized test, right, Patrick? You know about that. You can't go away from it. You got to say the same exact words every day, over and over and over and over and over. Write up the IEP plans, you know, for special ed kids, and do the meetings by the letter of the law. And it was so cumbersome, you know. It just got to be where reports were 20, 30 pages long, and it was too boring. I didn't like it. And I wasn't seeing kids, I was testing kids. So I went back and became a school counselor, gave up the school psych thing, and went back into counseling where I could actually talk to kids, and it was much happier.
So at one point, you know, actually, you went back and you started doing art again, and actually, you're a very talented artist. I love your work, and I have some of it at my house that you've generously given me. But when did you actually start going back to paint?
Well, I was always interested in art from the very time that I started back to school and took some basic drawing classes. I always wanted to do art. I think I was always naturally creative, but I don't know. I didn't have time to do it when I was working full time. I didn't have time. And then when I knew I was going to retire, I said, you know what I'm going to do when I retire? I want to learn how to paint portraits. And I had taken classes here and there, a few here and there, and life drawing classes. And, you know, I'd had clay and watercolor and, you know, did all those kind of classes. So decided I was taking a drawing class from a guy named Eddie Hood. He lives up in Paradise, very talented artist. And he was teaching us how to draw people by graphing. I don't know if you know that concept, but you graph on paper and you number the sides anyway. I want to learn to paint. So I had drawn some portraits, but I said, I really want to learn how to paint them. Then he had his own studio, and he said, I will teach you if you are committed. I said, I'm committed. So I worked with him for 3 years to learn how to do portrait painting. And I enjoyed it. I really, really did like it, and enjoyed having a studio above our garage at our old house and a place to go. So
have you painted since you've been in your new house?
No, not once.
Oh, you need to. You need to think again. You do? What do you mean by what? What's that?
I just don't have a place to paint. It's just not conducive. I can't work in oils. It's too confining. The oils, you got to have good ventilation for them. And I don't know. I like working in oils, so I haven't done it. I keep saying I'm going to get back to it, but it's been so long now. I'm thinking I don't really remember a lot about it.
Well, I think you like riding a bike.
Maybe.
I think you need to try. Trust me.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dennis has actually been very patiently waiting to come on here. I think he might have something to say. Are you ready to welcome Dennis Hansels?
Come on.
Come on, Dennis.
Come on, Dennis.
Hi, sis. Hi, Patrick. How you doing?
Good. How you doing? How you doing, old man?
Thank God. I hate talking about myself. Thank God.
No. I had a couple questions for you, sis.
That was wonderful, sis. Thank you very much for sharing. It was great.
Don't let her go. I have a couple questions for Aunt Sis.
There you go. Go ahead.
So, on the Muscogee Street, across the street from Grandma and Grandpa was old Emmett.
Right.
So, and I remember Emmett always being in overalls, suspenders, overalls.
Right.
And he lived kind of in an old house with kind of garden, probably chewed tobacco like Grandpa, right?
Yeah, he did. Hold on, you guys. I'm on 5% battery and I have
Okay.
it plugged in, but it's not working. Go ahead. I can hear you talking, Dennis.
Well, I had some questions about down the street, on the same side of the street that Emmett lived on. You had a girlfriend.
Sharon, she's on she's on Facebook with us.
Oh, she is.
Yeah.
It was Sharon.
Uh-huh.
Now, do you remember me being in the back seat with you guys driving around San Bernardino when you were like 16, 17?
No.
We going to the park and I remember going to a taco stand, and you guys always playing, you turned me on to a lot of the music at the time because you always had the radio going.
Are you sure it was me driving? Because I didn't drive in San Bernardino.
It might have been Sharon driving, but I was in the back seat and you guys were just girling around. And I don't know how I ended up in the back seat.
Huh. I don't remember doing that, but never know. Could have been, yeah.
I remember going to parks in San Bernardino with you guys. You guys were out like looking for boys and stuff. And
Oh yeah.
kinda
Boy,
cruising.
crazy. Yeah, we were.
I still remember that as a young child. So now tell me this, because you might know, who was Jim Chalet?
Who?
Jim Chalet. Was that Janice's first boyfriend?
Oh yeah, Patrick. You remember your mom talking about him? I can't. Shalega.
Okay.
Shalega.
Yeah,
I remember Janice talking about. I didn't know him. I was too young.
I can remember cowboy boots and him having like the cowboy tie.
Wow, that's going back a ways.
Yeah, I was probably 4 or 5.
Yeah.
Did he make it?
I got to
was
figure out my
Janice's first-
battery thing, you guys, or I'm going to go off. So what I'm going to do is go off and come back on my iPhone so that I can get my iPad charged.
Thank you.
All right.
Get her all charged. Well, that guy must have made an impression on you, Jim Shalega.
Shalega made that was kind of like, I remember when Jim Shaw was still around, and he made an impression on me, but I was little, I was young. But I still remember going out to Faye's house, where Jim was living with like two ladies of the night, and I remember the whole family going out there. Kurt probably remembers it.
Was that in Paris?
A big old place out on, maybe in Paris. Big place on a hill, and I remember the whole family being there, and I remember playing hide and seek in the house, and I just kind of remember things that my dad and Ken Shaw were talking about, and Jim was kind of a man of the night for sure. I mean, I think he was living with 2 women at the time. I think.
No, he was
I think my dad and Uncle Ken were actually jealous of him.
He probably was a kind of a playboy, wasn't he?
Oh, he was, by all means.
I remember visiting him in Las Vegas for sure when I was a little kid. I remember going with Grandpa when he worked at the rental car place. I remember Jim in there. I remember Jim I have a clear memory of him talking about the Moody Blues. But
I remember. Was that where they had the Circus Soleil or the trapeze artist from the Circus lived across the street from him when I was there?
yeah, I don't remember that, but I think I remember him with a horse ranch and a bunch of women. But that could be just selective wanting to remember that.
Okay, all right.
You
I
know,
didn't mean to come on and kick everybody off.
no, that's fine. That's fine.
I thought my cousin would get back on and we could talk fishing, but
Yeah, he bounced off. But Jim, yeah, Sahara's asked who Jim, and that was Kaki's oldest brother, and he ended up missing in Las Vegas. I remember in the late 60s, Dennis?
68 maybe, 69, 68.
Yeah.
I think.
And he was kind of, I'm sure he was like I don't know if I even say this is my opinion. I imagine he was, the Las Vegas is Las Vegas, and I think he had his fingers in some of the underworld stuff, and that's my take on it. I could be
All I
very.
remember is that they found his car out in the middle of the desert with his license tore up, which was like a sign of the mafia saying, you're gone.
Yeah,
They never found his body.
Actually, I did a Google search for him, and it's kind of interesting. There are civilians who take on missing person cases.
Right.
And
my mom brought up something last year about that when I was at Susie's.
Yeah, so I think they might have found him maybe in on the border on the California side, or I don't know. I'm not sure. Donnie says there was an unsolved mysteries about Jim. I didn't know that. Didn't know that. I'll have to.
Well, Donnie needs to get back on and talk about that.
She needs to give us a link nowadays. To get a link.
Uncle Joe probably knows more about Jim than anybody.
No, yeah, I remember. Yeah, I think him and Mark were pretty close and lived with Jim and Matt, and I think Joe was close with Mike too. I think Mike was quite the hellion from what the stories I remember Joe saying. Do you remember those boys very much? Do you remember Mike Barnes when he was younger?
Yeah, but I don't remember Mike Barnes as being a hellion.
No.
I mean, him and Joe, they had their motorcycles and leather jackets and but I don't remember as being like totally crazy. Joe used to fight though. I remember Joe just coming back and his face being beat up from like getting in fights in high school, and he was a fighter like I was, I guess. Not very good at it. You get beat up.
Well, yeah. Well, here we go. We got Sis wants to come back on. I hope. Hopefully she's right side up. There you go. Much
Back
better.
on my iPhone. Yeah, you guys are talking about Jim. You know who needs to come on? I've seen Karen Barnes on here. Karen could come on and get Mike on. He could tell some stories, him and Joe.
Right.
Him and Joe would be the going to the source, really. So
Yeah.
I would
Jim
love
Shalega, though. You don't hardly remember Jim Shalega either, Sis?
No, I don't.
I certainly remember him, and I think it was when we lived in Rialto for a little while before we moved to Fontana.
I remember him more in name of Janice talking about him than anything else. I was little. So were you.
See, I always thought Patrick might have been Jim Shalega's son, but that's not true.
Oh, no.
I don't know. Well, I think since I did that with whatever ancestry.com, I think I know who my daddy is.
Yeah. I think we know now.
I think we know now.
Yeah.
Okay,
Almost dead.
I'm gonna let you and Sis keep going. Sis, we want to hear some of the old stories. It's good.
I have a terrible memory, and I'm not good at old stories. The older ladies are good at the stories.
So did you ever do a class with Julie Shaw out at Butte College?
I did have a class
Watercolor?
with Julie. Yeah, I have taken a class with Julie Shaw.
Yeah, I always liked Julie. She was good.
Yeah.
More of watercolors though than oils.
Right.
All right.
Right.
See you guys.
Take care. What do you remember about Uncle Jim?
What I remember?
Yeah.
Uncle Jim, I remember him coming down to San Bernardino to visit us. I was probably, well, I was a teenager. I remember him when I was very, very little. I remember when I went to kindergarten. I'll tell you a story. One time when I was supposed to go to kindergarten and I didn't want to go. I was very resistant kindergartner. And I can remember every day my mom saying, you have to go get on the bus and go to school. And I'd say, no, I don't want to go. I don't want to go. I did not want to go to kindergarten. It was very scary. So one day Jim happened by and he just picked me up and he carried me down to the corner and he set me down on that bus and he said, you're going to school. I went, oh, that was, yeah, I remember that about him. He sent me to school.
Okay. He was kind of strict, huh?
Yeah. And I remember going to school and I was, I went in crying and the teacher put me in the clothes closet because I was crying.
What school was that?
And she came in there and she said, I'm really cross with you. You need to stop crying. Well, I had heard enough about the cross at church that I didn't know what that meant. I didn't know. It scared me to death. I thought she was going to hang me on a cross or something. I didn't know what that meant, being cross.
Was that a Catholic
Yeah, I
school?
remember Jim as he was gone a lot when I was little. He was already, of course, out doing his own thing and out of town a lot and driving truck and, doing rodeos or whatever he did, but he'd blow back through town. And then once he moved to Vegas, he would come down to San Bernardino to visit a little bit more often. And I remember when I was 13, he came down with his card shark friend, and I can't remember his name. Joe will remember his name, but I remember we set up all one night and played cards, and you know why we were up all night. So that was my first experience of staying awake all night long. Didn't like it at all. Yeah. So he had his way. Yeah, Jim did.
Now, when you went to kindergarten, was that Catholic school?
No, it wasn't. I didn't go to Catholic school till I was in 8th grade.
Oh, okay.
I went to school. There was a little school in Muscoy called Rio Vista.
Is that where Joe went to? Because I always thought he went to Catholic school the whole time.
No, we didn't go to Catholic school till we moved up. No, that's not true. We went to St. Anthony's Catholic school after it got built, but it wasn't built. So I guess I was in Catholic school in 5th or 6th grade there. That's right. I've forgotten about that.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. See, I'm prying a little bit of information out of you. Oh. I'm sorry.
Hey, Don, come on back on. Don.
Donnie, is your sound working yet? Hey, Scotty. Good to see you out there. I see Terry. I see Damien. I see
Terry, come on. You have some
Jackie.
stories to tell. Jackie,
yeah. Terry, come on up. Let's hear about what do you remember about Terry being born? Sis?
what I remember about it?
Yeah.
I think that's when Joe and I had to go to San Diego, and tell me if I'm right about this, but I think Joe and I went to San Diego when Terry was born, and I came home and Mom had a new baby. I think we went and stayed with Donna for a few days. Am I right about that? Or we could have went to stay with her for another reason when Mom had a surgery or something. But I remember staying with Donna, and we actually even went to school down there for a while. So
Really?
Yeah.
You don't know for sure?
I don't know for sure, but I think we did.
I don't know, Black Kitty.
Hi, Kitty.
Oh, she's a little wildcat.
Oh, Panda. I said Kitty, and Panda is now like where?
Does Panda like? Does Panda like? Okay, Donnie.
Hi, Don. Can you talk?
Testing.
Yes, I can hear you good.
Oh, okay, awesome.
But you still. No, you got.
I got a feedback loop. Let me put in my headphones. Hold on.
Joe said we were in third and fourth grade when you went and lived at Donna's.
Joe said,
And did we go because Terry was born or because mom had surgery for another reason?
I'll let him answer that. I think that's better, Donnie.
Testing,
Yeah.
testing. Now I can't tell if the camera is on me or the not on me.
It's on you.
And now it's on you.
You're
Now,
good.
Okay, I don't like this angle. I gotta figure out something else. You guys go talk amongst your family selves. I'm gonna get my angle and my lighting good.
Now Joe says second and third grade is when you were down. So you and Joe were a year apart, obviously.
Right. In school, we were a year apart. He was a year ahead.
And that's when mom had surgery.
Okay. Okay.
Joe's been kind of the gatekeeper. He's the one who's coming back with all the. He has a lot of memories. So we're gonna have to get him coming on here pretty soon with his camera. I hope.
Joe remembers a
You
lot.
don't have a camera? Joe don't have a camera, does he?
He's waiting for one in the mail.
Oh, okay.
I hope.
Don, why don't you tell your story about how you ended up in LA and then back to Chico?
Oh God, that's not fun. I was just getting an email from a friend of Nick's who we went to massage school with that her husband died and they have 3 kids. And I was trying to, while I went off camera, I was trying to look at the obituary. And if you guys see an obituary in the Enterprise, the Chico, because I don't read the local paper, but
Wow.
if you see an obituary for a young guy named Brandon, he was a real estate agent. He's the ex-husband of a friend of Nick's, and they have 3 kids. And I was wondering how he died. Anyway, I'm back now, and how I got to LA. I mean, no one wants to fucking know about that. That's terrible.
No one wants to know.
I don't think so.
I think so.
All right. Okay. So how I got to LA was I graduated. Well, I went to college at San Diego State, right? And then I switched majors midway, and then I ended up going randomly to South America for a year, and I wanted to learn Spanish, so I lived in Santiago, Chile. And I spent a year in Santiago, Chile, and when I got back to the United States, I didn't go back to San Diego State to graduate. I went to live with Sis and Dean, who's like 92.
Don, you're skipping over a whole lot of your life when you went to Chile. That was quite some adventure, wasn't it?
That was an adventure, but you said to tell the story about how I got to LA.
I know, but as you're going through it, I'm remembering that was an adventure for you.
Well, imagine 1992, there was no internet.
How old were you? You were 19?
I was 22. I was 22 when I went to Chile.
Yeah.
And there was no internet, remember? And we had to talk once a week on a Sunday.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you worried about me all the time because I got so
You
sick.
and your best friend Becky Elner kind of went down there together to go to school.
Yeah, she went through an exchange program, and I did too, and we ended up at separate universities. She went to a university and stayed with a very poor family, and I went to a university and stayed with a very rich family.
Thank God.
Very different experiences.
Thank God. Yeah.
Yeah, we had maids, and one of the maids ended up getting pregnant after naming her baby after me because I was nice to the maids. I was really nice to the maids.
I never knew that.
And we made so the poor people would eat carne soya, which is soy meat, and they would get it in these big bags, and they'd stuff the dog food meat full of it because it would fill the dogs up, and it was considered a very poor thing. So they had a big bag of it in the closet in the kitchen for the dog.
So I mean, and the
And
history is, but you have to tell the history is that you went down there as a strict vegetarian.
Oh yes, very strict vegetarian. So I didn't know what I was going to eat when I got there, and they didn't even know of such things. It was so weird to them. And so I found this huge bag of soy in the pantry, and I looked at the maids. I was sneaking in the kitchen, and I said, "Could you please make some veggie burgers out of this?" in my broken Spanish. And they're like, "Dog food?" I'm like, no, it's carne soya. You can make veggie burgers. And so from then on, they laughed and laughed at me, but they would always put a little bit of a veggie burger patty on my plate next to the rice and next to the vegetable and the salad. And I would get to have, because of the first couple weeks, I lost like 10 pounds. I was
Oh,
so
I was
sick.
so
I was in
worried
the
about you.
hospital. I
You
got
ended up in the hospital.
bronchitis.
But why were
And
you in the hospital
because
exactly?
I got bronchitis and I was so sick and I lost so much weight and I couldn't eat anything and everything was horrible. So me and Becky Elner couldn't talk every day. We could only just plan a visit and then hope the other person knew how to get there on the bus. There was no cell phones, no way to communicate. So we would meet every once in a while, once a week on the bus and talk about how horrible her life was and about how I got to have the soy meat. And she was so jealous. And I think I was going to try to get her some. And she's like, don't worry about it. My family's the worst. They're not going to let me do it. So I think she started eating meat just to get by. But my experience was so good in Chile that I ended up staying an extra 6 months and she ended up leaving after 6 months.
Right. And what
I
was
had a great time.
what you had to go on some adventure to get your visa renewed, right?
I did. I had to take a bus to Argentina to get my visa renewed because I was on a student visa that ended after 6 months. So I took a bus to, the Grubhub driver's here. I hope they just leave it on the porch. The not it was not in Mendoza, Argentina was right on the border of Chile. So I got to take the bus. It was about 8 hours there and about 8 hours back with a couple friends of mine from. There's Charlie. Hey, Charlie. The Grubhub driver's here. You want to go get the food? No, I don't want to go. Sorry. And I remember it being in the summertime, and it was so hot, and it was so light out that every.
The food drivers.
Go get the food off the front porch. Just get it off the front porch. Jesus Christ. And so we got we got to Mendoza and it was so hot out that all the families and their children were out at night in the parks. And it was like 10 at night and everyone was picnicking in the parks because it was cool out. And so what they would do is they would go inside during the heat of the day, but then the families would come outside to play in the night because it was so hot. And we had an interesting hotel room where the bathroom didn't have any sort of shower curtain or anything. You just
Who were you traveling with?
I don't know. One of the students or two of the students. I can't remember who they were. Yeah. The little one. The little one. Thank you. And so that was fun. And then I later in Chile I was discovered as a model in the mall. Remember that? And I got to go on a journey as a model for the
No,
beer.
half of these stories I never heard, and some of them, thank God, you told me after the fact.
Yeah.
No,
So
I never
was
heard
really,
your modeling
really
story.
skinny, really, really tall, really, really long blonde hair, and I had this.
They thought you
really-
were Brazilian, right?
They thought I was Brazilian because of my accent, and I got on this modeling a gig where they paid me a lot of money. It was for it was for an alcoholic beverage, and you would go on the beaches in your bathing suit with all the other models, and you would hand out the keychains and the cup holders, and you would do it all of the beer brands. So I was a Bellican girl or whatever the beer was called. I can't remember now what the alcohol was. But then you would stay in these rooms with all of the models, and it was horrible, and I hated it. But I was making money, and I remember them wanting me to smoke cigarettes, and I was like, oh God, no, that's so gross. But everyone smoked cigarettes. So I tried smoking a cigarette, and I was like, oh God, this is horrible. But I kind of wanted to fit in, so I kind of smoked a cigarette. It was awful. And then I went back to the rich family. They welcomed me with open arms. I cried and cried because I hated being a model. And they said, "Okay, but you're so famous. You're so United States famous because you were a model for this alcohol. And I was like, oh my God, you guys are so fucked up. That was a story. And then anyway, so I came back from Chile and I went to Sis and Dean's house and I graduated Chico State in 2 semesters with a Spanish degree and moved to Los Angeles with my friend Chrissy, who lived in an apartment and was a assistant for the vice president of Warner Brothers Animation, and Amy Pell. And Amy Pell was a tyrant at the time. And this was like 1995. And I still didn't know how to do internet. I still didn't know how to do any secretarial work. But Chrissy's friend was having a baby and she needed a second assistant because the girl had to go take maternity leave. So I got in just the right time to be the second assistant to Amy Pell. And after 1 week, I was fired from Warner Brothers because I was totally incompetent and I totally could not deal with the Hollywood thing. And so I went to the temp agency, which happened to be 2 doors down from Chrissy's apartment. And they had a receptionist opening for Nickelodeon. And I said, are you kidding me? This
I
is
remember you
literally
calling me
on
and
the
I
same
remember you
street.
calling me and telling me that you thought it was a sign that you got an apartment just 2 doors down
I know,
from
it was
Nickelodeon. And you
crazy.
said, I think it's a sign. I think I'm going to get hired there because I'm on the same street.
Oh
Get
my
down,
God.
Dina.
And so all I had to do was go to work 2 doors down from the apartment I was staying in. And I was a receptionist for Nickelodeon for 9 months. And I grew close with the casting director who liked it when I opened her mail and took all her calls and blah, blah, blah. So when the casting assistant position became open, that's when I became the casting assistant on Hey Arnold. And that's how I got to LA.
Yeah. And there you are, still doing it.
There I am, still doing it. I have Scooby-Doo emails coming up as we speak.
Uh-huh. And what show are you doing right now? Anything?
I have the new Scooby-Doo Guess Who, which we're in
Panda,
air
get
on
down.
season 2. And so right now with all my shows, we're trying to figure out how in the world are we going to record people from home and get the audio quality to where it needs to be because actors aren't used to really
Get down.
doing technology, but at the same time, they do have home studios which they use for auditions, but it's totally different than doing like a live record and capturing the audio and sending it in.
So are the recording studios all closed in LA now?
Yeah, so they have all their people just working remotely. So everyone's doing different software, different microphones. We're shipping people microphones. We're trying to figure out what software we can give people, what we can pay for, what we can't pay for, who's already set up, who's not already set up. And I think we're supposed to record one of my shows May 6th. So we're just in the last, I have 3 shows that are broaching on this right now. Clash-O-Rama, Clash of Clans, Scooby-Doo, Guess Who, and Bird Girl. Those are my 3 shows, and we're all figuring
That's
it
a lot to do with 2 kids in the house.
No. I'm handling it like a pro. What are you talking about? Bacon bread? I'm like totally handling it. Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot. Nick is on a flight right now. He's at Blackhawk training. He's going to be home at midnight tonight because he has to do a night flight tonight. And I don't know. It's a lot. It's hard. It's hard. I'm breaking down.
Wish I could take him. I'd take him if I could.
I feel like
Where'd Patrick go?
I have a private chat between you and I. Like, we talk about this every day. It's not interesting to other people.
Patrick's close by. Well, that was, you know what? Loved hearing that story, Donnie. I wish your microphone was still a little bit really low. Other than that, that's perfect. You guys told a story together. I like that.
I like that.
That was nice. Thank you. I appreciate that. Look at that puppy.
Yeah, she's waiting to be fed. It's her dinner time. Can you tell?
I noticed you call your mom sis.
I know. What is that about? It's like she called her mom grandma.
We're just one screwed up family, aren't we?
I know my best friend Becky calls her mom Janet. And so then I started calling my mom sis, and then I always call her sis, and even to my children I'm like sis. It's weird. I don't know why I don't know why that happened. Nick calls
Yeah.
my mom grandma,
Yeah.
grandma sis. And Charlie calls Carol Grandma Carol, even though it's her aunt's.
And Freya calls me Grandma Sis, and Maddie
Yes, and-
calls me Grandma Sis.
Yeah. It's so weird.
Yeah. Oh well.
Well, yeah, I was just curious because I don't know if I ever noticed that before.
I don't know
Yeah.
that I have either.
Interesting.
Mhm.
You never when did you was Sis always no one ever called you Rose?
Oh, not since Catholic school.
No.
No, hated it.
Were you Marie or Rosemary or Rose?
Rosemarie, and I was only ever called that by the nuns and my mother when she was angry at me. So I never wanted to be called Rosemarie. I stayed with Sis.
You grew up with Sis then as a little girl? You were Sissy for Joe?
Yeah, I was Sis.
I'm guessing Joe must have done that.
Well,
Another Joe-centric story, you got named by Joe. How about that?
did Joe say he did?
No, well, I'm just saying, sister. You know, all the
My
other.
dad. No, my dad told me it was because I was supposed to be the nun in the family.
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
That's one version I've heard. You know, the older sisters might remember something different. I've never gotten a version that a true version of who started calling me sis or when. I don't know.
Well, we're going to have to try to solve that mystery.
That would be good. Yeah, because a lot of people ask me and I don't know.
Interesting. So was being a nun ever an option?
No.
Never. Never.
No.
Was being a Catholic ever an option?
Well, until I. What's Joe say? I did used to call her sister, then later sis. So it was Joe that named me?
You just can't get away from them, can you? You were in his shadow. He even named you. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. He's my story.
Oh.
We had frogs in our swimming pool the other day, and the girls were playing with them, and I had them in a little bucket, and I thought, oh my God, sis would die that we're out here just holding and playing with the frogs.
I would die.
Because of Joe, right? Because he threw them on you, right?
Joe and Poop used to throw bugs and insects on me all the time. Put things in my pants. Yeah, they did. And then when I got together with Gary Hershey, Don's father, he always thought it was funny. We'd go fishing and he'd grab me and put worms down my pants.
Oh,
he thought that was funny. Yeah.
Horrible.
And then Damien and James Kircher came up and spent a summer with Dale and I one summer, and they knew of my phobia, so they thought it was real funny to they put a lizard in my bed. Damien, you'll remember that story.
Oh.
Yeah, I'd find a lizard in my shower.
Oh,
yeah,
no.
They thought that was real funny. I mean, you just don't do those things, to people that have a phobia.
Do you
I've
still?
never been able to get over it because it's always been forced on me.
I have a major snake anxiety, and last night I had snake dreams, and they were coming, 2 of them in the room, and they kept going under the bed and hiding, and there's snakes all the time. And Nick's stress dreams is someone breaking in the house. So every night he has stress dreams that someone's coming in trying to break in and kill us, and I have dreams that we're gonna be killed by snakes.
Well, you know what I figured out over the years between when if I'm dreaming about Joe or Kenny putting, frogs down my pants, or I'm dreaming about snakes, what I've kind of analyzed in myself is that it usually means you're feeling out of control somewhere in your life.
Yeah.
That you're not in control of something.
For sure.
That you need to be in control of.
Yeah.
So something to think about.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So you're not a fan of amphibians or snakes to this day?
Me?
Sis? Yeah.
No. No, and when we lived out on Horse Run Lane, we had so many lizards
Oh
out
God,
there.
those frogs. Remember those?
Those frogs and lizards, and every time we'd go sit out on the porch or by the pool, you'd have to pick up the cushion and shake it to make sure there's no lizards and you're not going to sit down on a lizard. And to this day, I don't understand why, but we moved to this house and count my blessings, even with the waterfall back there, we've not had one lizard or frog in our backyard. Why? We're still in Chico, but thank God, I'm so appreciative I can go out and sit down somewhere.
I have no idea. That's weird.
They're harmless.
Yeah, I know. And someday I'll have to confront that and get over it.
But no one wants them put down their pants, no matter how harmless they are.
No.
Yeah.
I
Joe, you probably don't remember that part, huh?
I wonder if Jennifer has the same memory. Didn't you say you kind of hung out with Jennifer a lot?
Yeah, I don't know. I can't remember if they did that to Jennifer. Jennifer, are you there?
Weren't you on Horse Run Lane? Wasn't that by Butte Creek?
Oh yeah.
So that's probably where you had more animals coming from there.
Yeah. Yep. We were close to Butte Creek, and Comanche Creek was right across the street. Right. Yeah, and Dean says to me the other day, he says, I never told you how many snakes I killed in our yard. He didn't even tell me. And I knew of quite a few, but he didn't tell me. Joe, you're so full of shoot.
Donnie, your mom was talking about Newport Beach. Do you have any Newport Beach memories?
Oh, I was only 3 years old. So
No, you weren't even 3. You were only
No,
9
2.
months a
No,
year.
I have no memories of Newport Beach.
What's your first memories of?
Grandma Isabel in her bed with she would give me a bath, put me in a grandpa t-shirt called a toga, powder me up with lavender or lilac powder. My hair would be wet, the window would be open, and she'd hold me and I'd snuggle in with her silk nightgown and the silk blanket, and she'd do this on my face. 1, 2, 3, and then I'd go to sleep. That was my first memory.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
I remember the night you were born. There was a running joke. I was a little kid, but it was on Suzanne Lane. We were having some kind of party, and the joke was, "Is it going to be Hershey's with nuts or without nuts?"
They didn't know if I was a boy or a girl.
I don't think they knew back
Those
then.
days we didn't know. You took what you got. Yeah.
My mom said that if I was a boy, my name would have been Sean, and if it was a girl, it would have been Dawn.
Yeah, you know that party we had was for my dad.
Grandpa.
It was his.
It was his
birthday. He was born. Don was born on June 20th, and my dad birthday was June 21st, and it must have been a weekend.
It was a Sunday.
Yeah, and I remember going into labor, and I wasn't living at home. I was living somewhere in San Bernardino, but I remember going into labor. I think Uncle Dan came over and hung out with me that night. I was living in an apartment on Mountain View with a pool, and he came over and hung out with me.
I thought it was Uncle John. I thought it was
Well,
John Houck.
Maybe it was John Houck, because John Houck ended up taking me to the hospital because I went home over to Suzanne Lane, and my mom was getting ready for the party, and she was really busy, and I told her I thought I was having labor pains. She goes, "Well, go out in the goddamn backyard and walk. Go walk. I don't have time to deal with this right now." So I went out and walked back and forth. Pretty soon John dropped by, as he usually did. I said, "John, I think I'm having a baby." He goes, "I'll take you to the hospital. I'll take you to the hospital." I said, "Okay, I think we need to go." So we went in, and I told my mom, "We're going to the hospital now." She goes, "Okay."
And is that why John was my godfather?
Yeah, John and I were pretty close in those days. Yeah, we were pretty close. So John took me to the hospital, and you were born. Yep.
So what about growing up with John?
John and I used to cut high school together. And we would ditch school, but we always wanted to do really interesting things. So sometimes we'd ditch high school and go sit in the courthouse and listen to a court case. One time we went to the morgue, and we told the people that we had to do this high school project. We had to learn about dead bodies at the morgue. I think they just kind of blew us off, and said, you guys need to go away. But we were always trying to think of interesting things we could do when we were in high school. Yeah. But after, you guys know the story, Bunny and I tell it a lot. After I got married, this was before Don was born, right after I got married. I was living with Don's father, Gary. And we had only been married maybe a month or two. And what did Jennifer say?
Why'd you name her Dawn?
Why did you?
Why'd I name her Dawn? I don't remember. I was a
You
hippie
told
back
me
then.
it's because you liked the early morning sun, is what you told me.
Oh, maybe. Yeah.
Cute.
But anyways, John, Gary decided that he wanted to up and move. We were living in Beaumont, California, not Palm Springs. And he decided he wanted to move back to Oklahoma, where a lot of his family was from. So John had been hanging out with us a lot. And John said, hey, you know what? I'm ready for an adventure. So Gary and I had this old car, and he said, why don't I take you guys to Oklahoma? Well, I'd been on adventures with John. I knew better. I knew better than go to Oklahoma with John. But he talked me into it, as he usually did. And he said, okay. He said, you guys sell your car. And he said, we'll drive my car. We have a new car. Well, he had a new car. God knows how he got it. He was always putting things on credit cards. But he drove us back to Oklahoma, and we drove. We got in, we drove. We were going out through Arizona. I think when we hit Texas, about 1 a.m, and we said, you know what? We're really, really tired. And we were going to stop at this motel. And as soon as we got out of the car, there was some black people that were hanging out in the parking lot. And John, as soon as we got the keys and went in the room, John said, I can't stay here. And I said, well, what do you mean we can't stay here? We just paid for this hotel room. And we didn't have any money. I mean, we were probably moving to Oklahoma on $20. We have no money. And I said, well, I'm just not going to stay here. He said, my apartment got robbed by some black people not too long ago. And now I have this fear, and it's going to happen again. We got to keep going. So back in the car we went, and we drove all night long, all the way to Oklahoma. And we get to Oklahoma, and Gary takes off, and he goes to look for his brother, who's down at the local bar. And John and I are he says, I'll be back. I'm going to go find my brother. I'll be back. We hadn't even really gone to the door yet. And Gary's sister-in-law, Big Ruby, we called her, came out. Well, by God, you must be sis. Anyway, she was the nicest, sweetest lady. She took me in her arms and hugged me. I mean, I was 18, 19 years old. Took me in. She was pregnant, 9 months pregnant. She had 2 little kids. And it was a sad situation. John looked around. He said, I'll be back in a second, sis. And he went out to the car. He got my suitcase out of the trunk. He set it on the front lawn. He said, sis, I got to go. I'm getting the hell out of here. I'm going back home. I said, what do you mean you're going back home? I can't stay here. I can't stay here. What do you think I'm going to stay here? And I said, John, you can't leave me. Nope. He was gone. He took off, drove back to California, and left me. And I didn't see Gary for about 3 days, but Big Ruby took care of me. Well, eventually Gary came back, and we ended up buying a car for $50, and we lived there. We lived there for about a month, 3 months maybe. And drove back he decided then we'd come back to California. Came back to California.
Well, that's interesting. Where did you go then? When did you go up to Crescent City? Because Jennifer remembers her and Bobby picking you up in Crescent City.
Right. It wasn't too long after that, because I got pregnant with Dawn up there. So it was probably a few months later. We ended up driving up to Crescent City. And I remember we still didn't have any money. And I remember telling Joe, Gary and I are leaving. We're gonna be driving to Oregon. Well, Joe and I in our teenage years, we weren't really all that best of friends. He had his friends and I had mine, and but he did a really nice thing. the night before we left, he gave me a whole sock full of change that he had been saving up.
Really?
And I always remember that because it was the nicest thing he had ever done for me. And I'm sure I've told him this, but I lived on that sock, literally. Gary and I lived on that sock full of money for probably 2 weeks. Yeah, when we moved to Crescent City. We got as far as Crescent City and we ran out of gas, and that's why we stayed there. Yeah.
How about that? That's a good story, sis. That's a good
Yeah.
story. I hope Uncle Joe got to hear that one.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna go because my children need me. But
And I
love
got to
you guys,
go
and I'll
because my
talk to you
dog is
soon.
bugging me to feed her.
Hey,
So-
sis. Thank you for the stories. That was very nice. And Donnie also.
All right, we'll see you guys later.
Awesome, sis. Come on now.
Talk to you later.
Hey, before you go, sis.
Yeah.
You talked earlier about doing something. Is Dean listening?
No, he's in there watching TV. He's in the other room.
Have you thought about his birthday? What we're going to do?
No. I was kind of thinking, Dawn, that maybe some people in family would get in cars and drive by and honk and say hi.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, maybe we can organize, 3 or 4 cars driving by if anybody in Chico's listening. His birthday is May 5th.
Cinco de Mayo.
You know what? I think I might be able to arrange a virtual poker game where we could play poker online together.
What, honey?
Oh, well, that would be kind of interesting.
Yeah, to have an online poker game. You just send all your money to me on PayPal.
Yeah. Let's see who
Bye,
wins.
Donnie. Hey, thanks for coming on, Donnie. That was a good story. I just wish your microphone would have been a little bit better, but
Yeah, I can hear her okay though.
and awesome stories. I see. I'm going to squeeze a little more out of you before this is all over, and we'll fill in some of the blanks.
Okay, make a fool out of me, Patrick Smith.
Oh, I don't think so.
Better to do right now.
Thank you.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Love you. Take care. Bye
Love
bye.
you too. Well, how about that? We had a little. That was kind of cool. That kind of happening. Things are happening like I like. Anyways, this was the stuff I was hoping. We're going up on 2 hours in about 2.5 minutes. So that was good timing. Let me drop the link. Let me drop that link because if anyone else wants to come in and add any comments or to help cap the show, or maybe something to start with tomorrow, because I'm sure I'll be here. Who else is out there? Go ahead and type your name in, which I won't see for 20 seconds or so. We're kind of playing with the time dimension here. Go ahead and come on up. Otherwise, yeah, we got about 1.5 minutes. So I might be able to stretch out that 1.5 minutes. So we'll kind of keep the 2-hour show. David Dietz, you want to pop on for a minute and tell us what happened today? Are you willing to do that? Terry's there. Good to see you. Good to see you. Let me paste this again. Anyhow, we had some good guests. Uncle Joe, if you're still listening, we can talk about and do a practice session on a test channel. Just get your camera working, and it should be pretty easy if you got it. That's kind of exciting. But well, we're down to the last minute. If no one else wants to come on, we'll just call this a wrap. And appreciate everybody coming on today or viewing, both of them. Enjoy your dinner, Jennifer. Terry, good. I thought it was a good show. You got to think about, you're going to have to come up here pretty soon, Terry. We're going to get you back up here and fill in the blanks. Maybe that's a good title for the show. Fill in the blanks. Well, David's going to come on really quick.
What's up, Smith?
What'd you think today, sir? What's your rating?
That was a good show. There was a lot of things I hadn't heard about from some of the family that we don't, like you said, the older aunts and uncles kind of have all the stories, and it was nice to hear from the younger ones.
No, it is. I think Joe will be a wealth of information. I think he remembers a lot of that stuff. Yeah, no, oh no, don't note me, Terry. You're coming back on here. You can handle it. We're looking forward to you. But yeah, we're gonna have to. You know, what do you think I should have your? Would you have each one of your mom's kids ask her a question? Would that be a good day? A good segment?
Yeah, she may not like my question though.
Oh, what would you ask your mom, David, if you could ask her anything?
I'd probably ask her about her the little story that she wrote in the family journal.
Is that what you would ask her about?
Yeah.
Okay.
I had no idea she was so unhappy. Or at least it seemed like, that's not really where she wanted her life to go, that it was just kind of chosen for her.
Yeah.
And, I'd like to know what she would have done different in her life if she hadn't had so many kids.
That's an interesting question. That might be a tough question. I don't know, but that's an honest question, David.
You know me, I'm all about honesty.
I'm feeling your honesty here.
I was going to ask your mom, how long she was in Saudi Arabia for.
I could roughly estimate it. I'm guessing, I don't know, 7 years, 9 years, 11 years.
Do you remember where you spent those 11 years?
Well, yeah, quite a bit of different. She left when I moved to Chico after 9th grade. So I think she might have been in San Bernardino a year or two.
Yeah, that's what I remember. I remember you living with Grandma and Grandpa in San Bernardino.
Well, I lived in that house on Suzanne Lane. I don't want to get in my history. Then me and my mom lived there, and then one summer she took me up to Grandma's house to stay for the summer, and I ended up just staying there. It wasn't planned, so that was 76 because I was just out of 9th grade, and then I lived with Grandma and Grandpa. I lived with Susie. I lived in an apartment by myself, a couple of them. Then I moved to San Diego, and she was still there. She was still there for my. I think she was. When I finally graduated college, I was on a long 10, 12 year, whatever the year, I think it was 85. I think she'd been back by then. So yeah, maybe, 9 years, maybe something like that. If she's listening, she'll tell us, but it was quite a while.
And so when she came back, did she move right to Laguna Woods, that area?
No, well, I think they lived in San Diego. I think Dan got jobs in Carlsbad at like defense contractors, if I remember correctly, and they lived in like Vista. I remember them out in East San Diego somewhere, but yeah, they moved around quite a bit along that coast. Oceanside for a while.
And your mom made a living doing medical transcription.
Yep, she was like, I think she kind of alluded to. I think she started working really young. From what I think she lied to get into the phone company so she was always kind of a worker. So, what was your question?
So it's just funny how things change. I would imagine court reporters and medical transcribers are kind of on their way out with the computer programs the way they are.
Oh, I think so. Yeah, voice transcription. I think is probably, yeah. I imagine. Yeah, that was a dying art. You don't have to really. Well, yeah. I think that's a dying art. She did medical. Yeah, she would listen to like operations when they're talking, and then she would transcribe out what happened. So she was actually. That's why her vocabulary is pretty strong. She had to deal with a lot of big words.
I remember her talking about how hard it was to read doctors' scribbles sometimes. I
think a lot of times they listen. That's what she did in Saudi Arabia. Believe it or not, when she was there, she worked in a hospital and did transcription. And then when she did that, when she came home, she was she was a worker. I don't ever remember her not working, ever.
No. And the other one I remember that you don't hear too much about it, but I remember Carol working in the medical industry for a long time as a respiratory therapist.
Yeah, I think she might have another strong lady who went back to school probably late in life. I think when Riverside over there on I can't think of the name of that street right now. But where it was when she had the boys with, I think that's when she went back to school, and I think she maybe she worked at Kaiser Hospital.
I believe it was Kaiser Hospital.
If my memory serves correct. No, she was a neat lady. She had to go. None of them had it real easy. She was pretty much a single mom. 4 boys, wait, 3 boys
Yeah.
that were every bit as wild as we were, maybe more.
It's funny. I'm not, and nothing negative about this, but it sure seems like a lot of the women have gone through a lot of husbands in the family, the older women. And I wonder if that is more so they're just such strong women that they weren't going to put up with the shit.
I don't know. Had a lot to do with genetics, I imagine. But yeah, I think any FBI agent would think this. I've always had this theory. They'd say there's no coincidences.
No.
They've gone through their share of men, that's for sure. It's actually, I would like someone to do a count on that. I think you'd be surprised.
It would be up there, I think.
But I don't know if I don't think that's a topic they like talking about, David.
I don't look at that as a negative thing at all.
No, I don't either. They're strong. They're strong, but they've all seen them.
There's so many women that'll stay in a bad relationship and just put up with it. That just shows a lot of backbone and a lot of character to say, I'm not putting up with your shit. I don't need to.
I agree. No, yeah. So anyways, we'll have to think of some other segments. Have you thought anything? You mentioned earlier you're practicing a little skit for us coming up?
Yeah, I'm gonna get dressed up. I'm gonna play burglar man with my wife.
Okay.
It's something D3 taught me years ago.
Just make sure the camera's pointed in the right direction.
Like this?
Oh.
All right, I'm getting off. We're gonna go get something to eat.
Okay, so hey, thanks for coming on, David.
All right.
Maggie, I see Maggie out there, and Dennis. Well, I'm gonna get. We've been a little over 2 hours. Unless I'll drop that link one more time since you're here. Since there's like 4 people watching, we give the 4 watching a chance. Probably saying get off, but you're not. You could get off, and you're probably not going to miss too much. Having said that, I dropped the link. I think it takes a minute or some seconds before you see it. So, another thing, when I get off here and I close this up and I stop this broadcast, I can switch over to Facebook and watch the end of the show. It's kind of interesting. But again, it's cringeworthy. Thank you, Dennis. That's kind of an official. You're giving me the official see ya. I wouldn't want to be ya. Memory of old James A. Miss that guy. Take care, guys. I'll probably see you tomorrow if everything goes right. And peace. Peace, peace, peace.